Hi there, I am Ann Wasserman. I repair vintage and antique quilts. So welcome to the next installment of my series called On the Work Table, in which I show and talk a little bit about some of my projects. I'm also here to remind you that I have a virtual workshop called Preserving Our Quilt Legacy, which teaches how to care and repair for these beautiful, wonderful, wonderful quilt pieces. All the information about the content of the workshop and how it's structured and how to register is in the links down below this video. So please be in touch if you're interested. If you have any questions, get in touch with me and so on. And love to have you join in. Onward to the work table. What I'm working on right now is 2 quilts at the same time. I've done this a couple times now and found it kind of helps keep the liveliness in doing the work to work back and forth on 2 pieces at the same time. So I'm going to be showing you 2 quilts this time. Here we go. Here's one of the 2 quilts I'm currently working on. This one was made in Hawaii. It has a machine embroidered label on the back, which gives the name of the maker and also says that it was made in 1982. It's not, as you can see, in the what's traditionally called a Hawaiian style applique quilt with the kind of paper snowflake folded pattern that's then appliqued on. This has these intertwined ribbons and vines. But what is like the traditional Hawaiian style quilt are the parallel lines of quilting that surround the applique. It's beautifully made, as you can see. The applique stitches and the quilting stitches are small and even, very, very well crafted. The problem is that a couple of the sections of this darker gold applique that ribbon were very worn and shredded. So I found a nearly matching fabric, amazingly, and have replaced this one long piece already, appliquing it around the leaves, which was kind of exciting to do, one might say. And over here is the next piece that I'm going to applique similarly, all pinned into place and ready to be stitched. So it's coming along great. I hope to have it done by the weekend. The other quilt that I've been working on is this string quilt. It's also a memory quilt. The fabrics come from the owner's mother's blouses. And it was made for her by her grandmother, which makes it just a really, really sweet and meaningful quilt. And it's been just great to be able to help pull it back together. The problem is that this brocade in many places had pulled away from seams, leaving a deeply frayed edge. This one's okay, but it happened in quite a few places. I found a pretty good replacement for the brocade online, but I ended up not being happy replacing whole pieces. The color was just different enough, and it also didn't want to lay flat at all and ended up kind of poofy. So I came up with this idea just to insert a little piece on the frayed edges. The top line here is on the original seam line, and then here I turned under just enough to enclose the frayed edge with a nice deep turn under allowance. And from a distance, it's much less obvious, and I'm really, really happy with the way that it looks. Right now, this is just the top, so there's the foundation fabrics on the back. I took the original backing off because it was also frayed and in pretty bad shape. The grandma who made this quilt had backed it with one of these nice soft woven cotton blankets, which has now been fraying. Many of the holes are much larger than this. But I wanted to show you because I think it's just a wonderful way to make a quilt. There's no batting, so the weight and the warmth come from this blanket. But it's so soft and so cozy that I think it's something to keep in mind and a nice way to finish a quilt. I had the owner buy a new blanket, and so I'll be putting that on in the next few days. I also took off and saved the original binding, which is a cotton, and the same fabric is here in the sashes between the blocks. Here you can see another place where I stuck this little small piece inside and turned under the frayed edge. So I will be putting a new blanket on the back and then replacing the original binding. And it'll be usable again. Once I'm done working on these quilts, I will be posting about them on my blog. There will be before, during, and after photos, and also more of the stories that have come along with these quilts that the owners are happily sharing with us. The link to my blog is down underneath this video, along with the links to the workshop and my book and my email address. So if you need to contact me, please do. I'm going to close with a story. I have decided working on two quilts at the same time is great, because with these, the two main fabrics that I was using for the two quilts ended up next to each other on my work table, and I decided I love this combination of colors. Not at all the palette I usually use. And I have some other fabrics in these colors that I've set aside, some other magenta, fuchsia type colors, and some gold lame even, and maybe some white lace. I think that could just be really, really interesting. So you may see a quilt made because of this repair job sometime in the distant future, but sometime. So thank you for joining and coming by, and I will be sharing more quilts in the future. Thank you. Bye.